This meeting is being recorded. Alert.
Hello everyone and welcome back to YouTube channel for Talking Flight Monitor. As you may know from previous videos, we're going through the PMDG rebuild series for TFM support for the PMDG 737. This week we are covering week 8, which is the anti-ice panel and the hydraulics panel. As a reminder, if you like the content that you see, press the subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are set to always, so you will get the content as we publish it. Now, as usual, I have 737-900 loaded in the sim in the background, since we don't need it at the moment. And we have TFM loaded. So we
Desktop list.
our desktop. And we will bring up the cockpit panels with left bracket, control.
Panels preview. Level 0 left overhead collapse 1 to 1.
And we will down arrow to center overhead. We can always press the letter C.
Center overhead collapse 1 to 1 level 0.
Which we just did. And expand it.
0 items.
We will go to
level 1 anti-ice 1 to 1.
Anti-ice is the first one. Now again, there's two different ways to access this panel. The first one is tabbing through the controls, and the second one are keyboard shortcuts. We will tab through the controls first.
Window heat grouping. Left side window heat on button.
The first group is window heat, and there's 4 windows. Left side, left forward, and right side.
Left forward window heat on button.
And these buttons, which are the switches, will always indicate the state that they're currently in.
Right forward window heat on button. Right side window heat on button.
These are always
probe
on,
heat grouping.
at least
probe
right
heat number
now
1
they
on
are.
button.
The next group is probe heat. You have the left side.
Probe heat number 2 on button.
The right side.
Wing anti-ice off button.
We have wing anti-ice, which is currently off.
Engine anti-ice grouping. Engine number 1 anti-ice off button.
The next group is engine anti-ice. There's engine number 1 and engine number 2.
Engine number 2 anti-ice off button.
Currently they're all off.
Window heat indicators grouping. Left side window heat indicator on.
Now we have the indicators. We have the window heat indicators.
Left forward window heat indicator on. Right forward window heat indicator on. Right side window heat indicator on.
The next group,
window overheat indicators grouping. Left side overheat indicator off.
Window overheat indicators.
Left forward overheat indicator off.
These.
Right forward overheat indicator off. Right side overheat indicator off.
The next group,
captain side indicators grouping. Captain's pivot heat indicator off.
Captain's side indicators.
Left elevator pivot indicator off. Left alpha vane indicator off. Temp probe indicator off.
The next group,
F/O indicators grouping. F/O pivot indicator off.
The first officer's indicators.
Right elevator pivot indicator off. Right alpha vane indicator off. O pivot indicator off.
Which, if you notice, the captain and the first officer's side are identical to each other. The captain's side has the left. First officer has the right. And as we notice, there's a difference between the first officers and the captain's side. The captain's side has the temp probe, whereas the first officer has the auxiliary probe. Go to the next group.
Valve indicators grouping. Valve number 1 indicator closed. Valve number 2 indicator closed.
The valve group.
Cowl indicators grouping. Cowl number 1 anti-ice indicator off.
You have the cowl group.
Cowl number 2 anti-ice indicator off. Cowl valve number 1 indicator closed. Cowl valve number 2 indicator closed. Panels preview. Anti-ice 1 to 1 level 1.
Tab from that, we return back to the anti-ice entry in the tree view. Now the hotkeys for this, since there are too many controls to make hotkeys for each individual one, we turn the groups into areas that you can jump to with the hotkeys. And so here we go. Alt W as in whiskey.
Window heat grouping. Left side window heat on button.
This is the window heat group. Then you can tab through these or arrow through these. Alt P is in Papa.
Probe heat grouping. Probe heat number 1 on button.
We'll jump you to the probe heat. You can use the arrow keys to jump between
Probe heat
these.
number 2 on button. Probe heat number 1 on button. Probe heat number 2 on button.
The next group, Alt-E, is an echo.
Engine anti-ice grouping. Engine number 1 anti-ice off button.
This is the engine anti-ice,
Engine number 2 anti-ice off button.
and you can arrow through these.
Engine number 1 anti-ice off button.
Press the button.
Space. Pressed. Engine number 1 anti-ice on. Engine
CDU
number 1
message
anti-ice
display.
on. Left
Kion
valve
above 10
open.
degrees.
Space. Engine number 1 anti-ice off. Engine
CDU
number 1
message
anti-ice off. Left cowl valve closed.
And you could hear there was some transactions with the indicators.
Engine number 2 anti-ice off button.
Same thing with engine number
Space.
2.
Pressed. Engine number 2 anti-ice on.
CDU message
Right cowl
display.
valve opened.
Tie on
Engine
above
number
10
2
degrees.
anti-ice on.
We'll press it to turn it.
Space. Pressed. Engine number 2 anti-ice off.
CDU message
Engine
display.
number 2
off.
anti-ice off. Right cowl valve closed.
And the indicators, which are Alt-1 through Alt-6. Alt-1
Window heat indicators grouping. Left side window heat indicator on.
is the window heat. Alt-2,
Window overheat indicators grouping. Left side overheat
the
indicator off.
overheat indicators.
Captain side indicators grouping. Captain's pitted heat indicator off.
Alt-3 is the captain's side.
F/O indicators grouping. F/O pitted indicator off.
Alt-4 is the first officer's side.
Valve indicators grouping. Valve number 1 indicator closed.
Alt-5 are the valve indicators. And Alt-6
Cowl indicators grouping. Cowl number 1 anti-ice indicator off.
are the cowl indicators. And we
Cowl
can
number 2. Cowl valve
tab
number 1
through
in.
this.
Cowl valve number 2 in. Panels tree view. Anti-ice 1 to
jump
1
back
level
to
1.
the tree view. And that is the anti-ice panel. The next one we'll cover is
Hydraulics 1 to 1 level 1.
hydraulics panel. Again, like the anti-ice panel, we can tab through the controls or we can use hotkeys. This one's a little easier to tab through. We'll do that one first.
Electrical pump number 1 on button.
Electrical pump number 1,
Electrical pump number 2 on button.
electrical pump number 2. Now the thing about the electrical pump is this controls the hydraulics for the electrical parts of the engines, such as the reversers and things like that.
Engine number 1 pump on button.
Engine number 1,
Engine pump number 2 on button.
engine number 2, this controls the hydraulics to the engines itself, like the fan blades and all that.
Electrical indicators grouping. Electrical number 1 low pressure indicator off.
The indicators, first group is the electrical indicators.
Electrical number 2 low pressure indicator off. Engine indicators grouping. Engine number 1
Second
low pressure
group is
indicator
the
off.
Engine indicators.
Engine number 2 low pressure indicator off.
The third group
Overheat indicators grouping. Electrical pump number 1 overheat indicator off.
are the electrical pump overheat indicators.
Electrical pump number 2 overheat indicator off.
And tab
Panels tree view. Hydraulics 1 to 1 level 1.
back to the tree view. Now, since there's only 4 activated controls on this panel, there are no hotkeys for them since it's easy to arrow through or tab through them. On the other hand, there are hotkeys for the indicators Alt-1, Alt-2, and Alt-3. Alt-1
Electrical indicators grouping. Electrical number 1 low pressure
the
indicator off.
electrical indicators.
Engine indicators grouping. Engine number 1 low pressure indicator off.
Alt-2 is the engine indicators.
Overheat indicators grouping. Electrical pump number 1 overheat indicator off.
Alt-3 is the overheat indicators.
Electrical pump number 2 overheat
If we
indicator off.
tab
Panels
through-
tree view. Hydraulics 1 to 1 level 1.
We will return back to the tree view. This is the end of the content for week 8. Again, as a reminder, if you like TFM's YouTube channel, press the subscribe button and make sure your notifications are set to always so you can get content as it is posted. Now let's close this.
Get update available dialog. No button Alt plus N.
Let's
Meeting controls row 1 column 2 to
move
meeting
that
controls
right now.
window.
And we hope to see you during week 9.